Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel. Most people, or a lot of people, can't imagine running without music, and I get that. But a couple of years ago I started running in silence, or running without music or any sort of audio in my ears. Say for a couple of times, if I'm doing like a really easy run for just like 5 or 6k, I might stick some music in, but for the most part I never run with music. And when I changed, it changed a lot of things. It changed how I think, for sure. It changed how I feel, and it certainly changed how I run as well. And this is the reason why I run without audio, and why perhaps you should too. Okay, so the first thing I noticed, or the first thing that I realised changed when I started running in silence or running without music, was that you realise that we just have this constant addiction to distraction. Yeah, it's like I was going out on the run, I'd have the music in, I'd have a different playlist, and depending on what run I was going to go on, I'd have a different playlist. And when you think about it, all I was doing was trying to distract myself from the actual run I was going out on. Instead of just going out and doing the run and enjoying it, being present doing it, I was just looking for another way to distraction. That's saying, well, you know, what's the latest podcast I can listen to, or you know, if some band has a new album out, I need to get that listened to. And then before you run, you'd be distracted by other things. Your phone's always beeping, there's emails, there's WhatsApp messages, there's different groups and stuff like that. It's just this constant distraction all the time. And I just thought, when I go out on a run, I just wanted to just be totally unplugged and totally present and away from all distraction. That was part of the reason I was going running, was just to get away from the distractions of daily life. So that was kind of the first thing I noticed when I started running in silence. And I found that although listening to music or some sort of audio was good at distracting myself from the discomfort of the run and from the boredom of some of the easy runs, it was also distracting me from just thinking, just getting into my own thoughts and working through some of the stuff that I needed to work through when I was out running. So the second thing I learned then when I unplugged from audio was that you just learn to be present on the run. You learn to just be in the now. You learn to kind of wait for discomfort to arrive and to accept it when it does arrive. You learn to kind of listen to your breathing, the rhythm of your rate, your footsteps, the birds and any sort of other wildlife around you. If I run in the morning, you kind of notice the silence. If you run in the afternoon, you kind of notice the busy bustle of life. And I would even notice little things, like certain things I didn't realise on runs I would do, like, you know, running by a certain house, you might notice a pond in the garden that you hadn't noticed before, or just a whole array of things that when I was listening to audio, you just kind of, because you're switched off, or because you're switched off from the run and you're distracting yourself with the audio, I was distracting myself from the external environmental kind of audio and external environmental kind of day-to-day life, and when I noticed that that's what I was missing out on, that's kind of part of the reason why I never really went back to listen to audio. Just a couple of years ago, I just said I'd do it for a couple of months, and yeah, I just never really went back. You would certainly notice kind of that my breathing would get in sync with my footsteps and my running cadence, and that's something I had never noticed before, you know. It's particularly if you're on a run where you're using a little bit of intensity. I used to find that even my arm swings would be in sync with my breathing, with my footstep, and it's kind of a little kind of a rhythm to the run that I had never really noticed before. Yeah, and it was fantastic to notice that, and again, it was just another kind of brick in the wall as why I wasn't going to go back and start running with audio again. I guess what I'm trying to say is that being present on the run made the runs kind of much deeper. I mean that kind of in a physical and emotional sense, and not as in a physiological sense, but yeah, definitely kind of started to get more from my running and enjoying my running more once I started to unplug and just go out the door and get going. So the third thing I noticed when I started running unplugged was that I had much better mental clarity and the ability to process life when I was out running, which is something that I really enjoy doing now. I find it's absolutely fantastic. No matter what sort of a problem, large or small, or if I have a decision to make, or if there's something that I just can't make heads or tails of, I go out on a run, and because I don't have any music, I'm just left with my own thoughts, my own brain, to get through however long it is I'm going to run. And I usually use that time. I just kind of mull over things, and when you do that, obviously the kilometers or miles click away pretty quick because you're not noticing them. I find now when I finish a run that I don't always, quite often I get the resolve to be able to deal with whatever problem it is that I have. And if I don't get a conclusion to fix whatever problem it is, I usually finish with the clarity to just accept it for what it is. So sometimes you just get back from the run and you think, right, I now know what I need to do to fix that problem, and you just go and do it. Or B, I can't fix the problem's not going away. I have to just accept it and let it in and not let it kind of get me down in life. And I find running is fantastic for that. It's absolutely brilliant for just problem solving, mental clarity, and like I said, just accepting things, either that you can accept them and move on, or accept that you're going to have to deal with them and get them dealt with there and then as quick as you can, otherwise they just fester. And yeah, it might take a couple of runs before you actually get the clarity, but you know, going out on the run and mulling over it is brilliant. And I find that I wasn't able to do that when I had music or podcasts or something on in my ears. Like I said, I was just distracted all the time, and that's what it was just that addiction to distraction. So yeah, the third thing, and I think that's probably the most important thing to me, is that kind of mental clarity and the processing of life. Okay, so the fourth thing then you start to notice when you're running Unplugged is that you start to realise how good it is, or how important it is come race day, to just get uncomfortable being uncomfortable. So using the music as a distraction can sometimes take away from the discomfort of the run, and I think that just running Unplugged kind of helps to alleviate that. You know, out in the room, your legs start to get tired, you're present, you get it, you feel it. When your breathing starts to get elevated, you can hear it coming up because you don't have the music as a distraction. Yeah, you can sometimes hear yourself either breathing heavier or even starting to kind of do deeper lung breathing. And although you would feel it with the audio in, when you get it all together, Unplugged, it just makes a whole lot difference. Yeah, it brings a whole new dynamic to it, and because you don't have the distraction in your ears, you kind of have to deal with it in present, in time, and kind of accept it and let it in sometimes, or kind of fight it and push it out. And when it comes to race day, that sort of stuff is invaluable. Even if you're only doing it to a mild amount when you're training, it all adds up. So come race day, yeah, you can kind of race a whole lot better. The reason why this allows you to race better is that doing this kind of causes or is developing a certain kind of resilience. Yeah, you start to feel the pain, you start to face the pain, and you start to work through it, or the pain or discomfort, or whatever it is you want to call it. And as you start to feel it, face it, and work through it, that makes you stronger, gives you that kind of stronger resilience. And it's a different kind of strength than the strength of, you know, being stronger running, like physical strength. It's like a quiet strength or a quiet toughness that you can build up inside you. And when you become present and notice yourself doing that in training, that definitely comes home to pay dividends come race day. So yeah, that's kind of a very important feature that I found, and again, another reason why I won't be going back to audio when I run. So if you got this far in the video and some of this stuff is resonating with you, and you think this is something that you want to try, remember, you don't have to do a cold turkey. You know, you can start off with one run a week, or 1 or 2 runs a week, or do half your run. You know, you can turn your music off at any point and just kind of, particularly if it starts to get, if you're doing a longer run and you always listen to music, just have a listen to yourself running the last couple of kilometers you run, and I think you'll enjoy it. You know, it definitely brings another element to it that if you've always ran with music or audio, that you're not going to be aware of, because like I said, you always have that constant distraction. So it is something worth dabbling with. And the other thing as well is that you'll find as well, quite often I used to, when I was listening to music before I go out the door, I'd say, oh, just create a new running mix. And then you might sit down to do it, think you're going to spend 5 minutes, before you know, half an hour's gone by, and then you're kind of looking at yourself going, I would have been halfway through this run had I just went. So I don't have that anymore. Or you spend half an hour or 20 minutes looking for your new, or the most up-to-date podcast, whatever podcast it is you listen to, and again 15 or 20 minutes go by and you're thinking, I could have had that run time. So yeah, give it a shot. And like I said, you don't have to go cold turkey, but try it, and you will get dividends straight away. Running Unplugged helped me hear things all around me and inside me, you know, so it's like, it's this constant feedback loop that I'm getting all the time that I really enjoy. And it kind of helped me kind of reconnect with my mind, my body, and the external environment, you know, kind of, you get the sync of it all kind of working in unison together, and it's really enjoyable. So yeah, give it a bash. Go out, do a run, unplug yourself when you do the run, and you never know, you might come back with more than just miles ran. You might come back a different person. Anyway, I hope you do. Let me know if you do. In the meantime, guys, you know what to do. Run far, run fast, and most of all, run sensible.